Hello everybody. Today we're going to be talking about the 1,000 and change mile review of the Legend Axeo front suspension on my Indian Scout. And by the way, before we jump into the video, I've gotten a few questions on why the hell am I wearing a mask inside my house or outside in my driveway? This is just to cover my identity a little bit, and not because of COVID. So I just wanted to call that out before I get a bunch of comments in this video saying, oh my gosh, this guy's an idiot. He's wearing a mask inside his house. And if you're really wondering why I'm choosing to hide my identity a little bit, I'll talk about that in a separate video. So I'm pretty much gonna break up this video into two separate parts. So the first part's gonna be my overall experience with the suspension. And the second video is going to be, was it worth it? If you're thinking about getting this, is it worth spending nearly $1,000 for this front suspension? So I've ridden for a while, let the suspension really break in before I started to really think through my experience with this suspension, because I really wanted to give it a chance and really put it through its paces. So I've ridden with the suspension on for actually over 1,000 miles. It's been about 1,200 miles now at this point. And it's made me realize a few things that I did not expect. My experience with the suspension has been overwhelmingly positive. It has really made a noticeable difference in terms of the handling, going over bumps, everything that you'd really expect and want a suspension to do. The installation was the first time I've ever done something like this, and it was a fun project. So it's a little bit of a give and take with the suspension. So when you're getting a more premium suspension like this, you're gonna feel the smaller bumps a little bit more, but the trade-off is those bigger bumps that you'll go over, or those holes or whatever, you're definitely not gonna feel those as much. And that's a good thing, because that means less energy is gonna transfer into you and the bike, which means you're gonna have a more stable ride. So if you hit a pothole or something unexpectedly, there's less chance or less risk of something bad happening. So overall, the handling has been really nice. It gives you way more confidence when you are out riding in terms of being able to really handle those curves at speed. It feels very responsive and secure. So it really just helps you get more confident with more aggressive riding. And it is a noticeable difference as well. You know, with the Indian stock suspension, it is a little bit mushy. So if you do hit a bump at speed, there has been a number of times where I've bottomed out to the front suspension. It is not an uncommon experience for the suspension to bottom out, and it feels very jarring. Whereas with the Legend suspension, you know, if you hit those potholes, I don't think I've ever bottomed out this suspension, and I have not gone on any different routes. I haven't changed how I've ridden. Everything for the most part has pretty much been exactly the same, and I can't say that I've bottomed out this suspension with confidence. Whereas with the Indian stock suspension, I probably bottomed it out within the first week. So now onto the more surprising part of the video, something where I didn't expect to have happen. So a little bit of context before we jump in. The Indian Scout is my second bike. I have been riding for about 3.5 years. I do not have a tremendous amount of experience with, you know, different types of bikes and suspensions and riding on different trails and all this other stuff. Keep that in mind, right? This is just one rider's perspective. If you have a tremendous amount of experience, then that may influence your perception in terms of what this might mean. My experience with the Legend suspension is overwhelmingly positive, right? Is it better than the stock suspension? No questions asked. Absolutely, yes, it is better. But there's a little bit of a caveat to that. The question is it $1,000 better than the stock suspension? And that's where things can get a little bit more confusing and nuanced. So spending a good amount of time on the Scout, you know, I've put nearly 13,000 miles on the bike, and riding with the Legend suspension for over 1,200 miles now. Just using my pure gut instinct, if I was to estimate how much of a better riding experience it was in terms of handling and going over bumps and all that other stuff, you know, gut instinct, I would say maybe 30 to 35% improvement in terms of the stock suspension, with the key things being no bottoming out. You have an adjustable suspension, so you can really customize it to the type of riding that you're going to be doing. So there are definitely some big positives there. But is it worth that $1,000? That's where I'm not so sure. And so that's really the surprising thing. You know, for For this bike, defending the stock suspension feels very weird. I expected to make this review saying that this suspension made such a night and day difference. I could never go back to a stock suspension. Completely changed my riding and my experience and my relationship with this bike. And that's not something I can say in good faith right now. And you know, it could just be the thing where it's my experience coming through, and the stock suspension wasn't really that bad to begin with. I'm not able to notice the subtleties of what having the Premier Legend suspension is offering me. And if you're an experienced rider, you may have a completely different experience with this suspension because you are able to pick up on those subtleties. So then maybe the message is to a newer rider, don't worry about it right now, get more experience, and then go ahead and upgrade the suspension, because then you're gonna be much more confident and have a much more positive experience with it versus riding for some time and then really wondering, was it worth it? Am I really getting that much of a better experience with it? And should I have spent that money somewhere else? The Indian stock suspension might not have been that bad to begin with versus common nomenclature of, oh my gosh, it's trash, you should throw it away and get rid of it and upgrade that immediately. So I was in for a bit of a surprise on this video, and it still feels weird to talk about it. I could be wrong, you know, that could be the thing. I could be absolutely wrong. Just sharing my experiences and my thoughts as they are today, and they could change over time, but we'll see. All in all, in summary, am I happy with the Legend suspension? Is it a great product? Absolutely, 100% yes. Is it worth nearly spending $1,000 for that upgrade? That's up for you to decide. For me, and where I am today, with what I understand and what I experience, I don't think I would do it again, but you may have a different answer and you may have a different experience. That's really up to you for you to decide. And I'm just sharing my perspective and my experience and sharing the surprise I had in terms of recognizing that the Indian stock suspension wasn't as bad as I thought it was. Now, again, did it bottom out? Yes. Did it have some issues? Yes. Was it mushy? Yes. So I'm not discounting that it isn't the best thing in the world, but what I'm saying is it wasn't as bad as maybe we think it was. So with that, everybody, I'm gonna call it there for today. If you have any questions, leave them down below as always. Thank you for watching. Be brave, do good, take care of yourselves, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.